There are moments in life when the ground beneath you disappears, when everything you built, everything you believed in, shatters in front of your eyes. For Sophia, that moment came on a quiet autumn evening when she opened the door expecting love, but found betrayal. The man she had once called her forever was holding someone else. That single image burned itself into her soul, not just as heartbreak, but as revelation. Because in that moment, she lost more than a lover. She lost the version of herself who thought she couldn't live without him. And that's the beginning of every transformation. You don't truly meet yourself until you've been broken by what you thought was permanent. Pain, as cruel as it feels, is often life's way of tearing away illusions to reveal truth. In the days that followed, Sophia's world turned cold. The laughter that once filled her mornings became silence. Her dreams felt distant, her energy drained. But beneath the numbness, something began to shift. A spark of defiance, small but powerful. She decided she wouldn't beg for love. She wouldn't chase what betrayed her. She would rebuild, not to prove anything to anyone, but to remember who she was before she forgot herself in someone else's shadow. Losing love forced her to look inward. She realized that the greatest loss wasn't the man who left, but the parts of herself she had given away trying to keep him. Healing didn't come overnight. It came in quiet mornings, in tears that didn't ask for pity, in choosing to stand tall even when her heart still ached. Slowly, she began to rise, not as the woman who once needed to be loved, but as the woman who had learned to love herself again. And then came Henrik, a man as distant and controlled as she once was warm and open. He was everything she wasn't searching for: logical, detached, impenetrable. Their worlds collided not through love, but through necessity, a contract, an arrangement, a deal. Yet, it was in this unlikely connection that Sophia began to rediscover her strength. Henrik's world of rules and precision challenged her chaos, but it also reflected her wounds. For the first time, she saw that strength didn't always come wrapped in warmth. Sometimes it came in the form of quiet understanding, in someone who didn't try to fix her, but gave her space to rebuild herself. Losing her first love made her realize something profound. She had been chasing validation, not partnership. What she needed wasn't someone to complete her. It was someone to remind her she was already whole. As her story unfolded, Sophia learned that self-discovery often begins with heartbreak. The end of one chapter doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're being rewritten. Through Henrik's steady patience, she learned that love doesn't have to consume to be real. It can be gentle, patient, and imperfect. But most importantly, she learned that love means nothing if it costs your identity. The pain of losing Lucas had been her awakening. It stripped her down to her essence, forcing her to confront her fears, her desires, her strength. Love can make you forget who you are. Heartbreak makes you remember. Every tear became a lesson, every silence a teacher. She realized that true healing isn't about forgetting the past. It's about forgiving it and moving forward with grace. By the time Sophia stood before the mirror on her wedding day, she understood something she never had before. She didn't need to be saved. She only needed to be seen by herself. Losing love had given her the space to find clarity, courage, and conviction. She no longer sought a fairy tale. She sought freedom. Her journey wasn't about revenge or replacement. It was about rebirth. Sometimes, the greatest act of self-love is walking away from what no longer serves your soul. And when you do, you don't just find peace. You find power. Because the truth is, losing love isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of the most important one you'll ever live. The story where you are the main character, the healer, the dreamer, and the author of your own heart. Strength is often misunderstood. People think it means being emotionless, unbreakable, untouchable. as if the absence of feeling is proof of power. But true strength isn't about shutting down your heart. It's about learning when to protect it and when to let it heal. After Sophia's heartbreak, the world saw her transformation as coldness. She no longer smiled easily, no longer bent to please others, no longer explained herself. They whispered that she had changed, and they were right. She had. But what they didn't understand was that her silence wasn't bitterness, it was peace. Her distance wasn't pride, it was protection. Sophia had stopped pretending to be okay for everyone else and started choosing peace for herself. Because sometimes choosing peace means walking away from everything that demands you to pretend. When Henrik entered her life, he saw the armor she wore. He recognized it, because he wore his own. To the world, Henrik was a billionaire who had everything: control, discipline, and success. But behind that composure lived a man who had long stopped feeling. His life was ruled by logic, his emotions buried under layers of precision and professionalism. When Sophia entered his world, she wasn't just another business arrangement. She was the disruption he didn't know he needed. Her fire challenged his calm. Her authenticity broke through his restraint. Yet even in her guarded state, Henrik saw her strength. Not the kind that shouts, but the kind that endures. She didn't need to prove her worth or beg to be understood. She had already found something stronger than approval: inner peace. As their days together unfolded, Henrik began to realize that strength and coldness are two very different things. Coldness numbs, strength feels everything but chooses wisely what to react to. Coldness pushes people away out of fear, strength sets boundaries out of self-respect. Sophia taught him that peace isn't a lack of chaos. It's the ability to remain calm in its midst. She no longer needed to convince anyone of her value. She had stopped chasing validation the moment she realized her silence was louder than her explanations. The woman who once cried for closure now found it in stillness. The girl who once begged for love now gave it to herself first. That was her evolution, from reaction to reflection, from chaos to calm. Their connection was built on mutual understanding. Two people who had both mistaken control for strength, only to discover that true strength lies in surrender. It's in admitting that you're tired of pretending, tired of proving, tired of performing for a world that only applauds your highlights and ignores your healing. Sophia's peace was not indifference. It was maturity. It was the realization that you don't owe anyone access to your pain. You can forgive without reconnecting, love without returning, and heal without explaining. Henrik, in his own quiet way, began to mirror that strength. Together, they learned that peace isn't found in perfection, but in authenticity, in being honest about what hurts, what matters, and what no longer belongs. So yes, strength can look like silence. It can look like saying nothing when chaos demands a reaction. It can look like smiling at what once broke you, or walking away without anger. Sophia's story proves that real strength isn't the absence of emotion, it's the mastery of it. The world may call it coldness, but it's actually wisdom. It's knowing that peace costs less than pretending, and choosing it every single day. Because pretending drains you, but peace restores you. And once you taste the calm that comes from staying true to yourself, you'll never trade it for the noise of pretending again. Strength isn't coldness. It's the quiet confidence of someone who no longer needs to prove that they've survived. There comes a time in life when you grow tired of pretending. Pretending to be fine when you're not, pretending to be strong when you're breaking, pretending to be unaffected when the truth is tearing you apart. For Sophia, that time came after heartbreak, the version of her that once smiled to please others, that forgave too quickly, that stayed quiet to keep the peace. She was gone. In her place stood a woman who had learned that peace isn't something others can give you, It's something you choose, even when it costs you connection. People called her cold, distant, unfeeling. But she wasn't cold. She was finally calm. She wasn't unfeeling. She had simply stopped performing for people who mistook her kindness for weakness. True strength isn't loud or harsh. It's quiet, steady, and unshakable. It's the decision to stop pretending for a world that never truly saw you. When Henrik met Sophia, he saw more than the rumors. He saw a woman who carried her silence like armor. Her eyes spoke of battles fought in silence, of pain that had refined her instead of breaking her. Henrik knew that kind of strength because he had lived it too. His entire life had been about control, keeping emotions buried beneath logic, keeping pain hidden behind success. His version of strength was isolation. Hers was restraint. And in each other, they saw something familiar. Not perfection, but peace. They didn't need to fill silences with empty words. Their quiet was understanding enough. Henrik began to realize that strength wasn't found in never feeling. It was found in feeling deeply, but still choosing peace. Sophia reminded him that strength isn't how tightly you can hold on, but how gracefully you can let go. The world mistakes composure for coldness. It doesn't see the tears cried behind closed doors, the battles fought alone, the nights spent rebuilding your spirit. Sophia had known all of that. She had learned that strength isn't about smiling when you want to scream. It's about allowing yourself to heal without needing anyone's permission. She stopped seeking validation from others because she finally understood that peace and performance can't coexist. You either keep pretending to be okay for everyone else, or you choose to be real for yourself. Her peace wasn't the absence of emotion. It was the presence of control. It was knowing that she didn't have to explain her silence, justify her distance, or prove her worth. The woman who once chased love now chased serenity, and she found it in the stillness of her own strength. Henrik, who had spent his life hiding behind composure, saw in Sophia the courage he lacked. Her calm wasn't the result of indifference. It was the outcome of growth. Together, they began to understand that true strength lies not in fighting every battle, but in knowing which battles are no longer worth fighting. Sophia didn't respond to drama. She didn't chase explanations. She didn't hold on to what drained her. She had mastered the art of walking away without resentment, of closing doors without slamming them, of saying no without guilt. That is what real strength looks like. Quiet boundaries built on self-respect. Henrik admired her for that. And slowly, her peace began to influence him. He, too, started choosing calm over chaos, stillness over control, truth over appearances. Their connection became a sanctuary, not because it was perfect, but because it was peaceful. So understand this. Strength isn't about being unbreakable. It's about being broken and still choosing not to lose yourself. It's not about being cold. It's about valuing peace more than approval. Sophia's story teaches that you don't need to shout to prove your power. Sometimes your silence says it all. The strongest hearts are not the ones that never feel pain. They're the ones that learn from it, grow through it, and refuse to let it turn them bitter. Pretending might please others, but peace satisfies the soul. And once you've learned that, you'll never again trade your calm for chaos. Because strength isn't in how much you can take. It's in how peacefully you can stand after you've taken it all.